Alrighty. Alright, you guys, let's go ahead and discuss this next topic. Just as a little refresher, we discussed the end of the flood. We discussed the end of the flood and then the building of nations after that, right? The building of nations. Let me just go ahead and look real quick. And he's been communicating with Abram, right? Or Abraham. He's been communicating with them and he's saying he's going to grant him land, lots and lots of land. That's his first promise to him. And then we'll learn about the other promises later, these covenants, if you will. So he's promising descendant of Noah and his sons. Abram we're now all the way down the line, hundreds and hundreds of years to Abraham. Now we'll discuss a little bit about Abraham. We're getting into a little nitty gritty, but let me go ahead and start with a quote, and then we will go from there, okay? Let the victors, when they come, when the forts of folly fall, find the body by the wall. When Byron's eyes were shut in death, we bowed our head and held our breath. He taught us little, but our soul had felt him like the thunder's roll. This is from, it's not giving me any person, but it's saying Memorial verses 1.6. Just something that sticks out to me immediately. Let the victors, when they come, when their forts of folly fall. This is exactly how this section is opening up. It's opening up in a time of kingship, in a time of battle or war. Really, they were called wars. So large wars, or maybe small wars, I'm honestly not too sure, but there were times of war because these lineages have, the giant families, everybody is growing in size as far as family lines and sectors and clans. They become elected kings and rulers of power. There's all these different civilizations and nations since everything was split up with Babel, right? Everybody had different languages now. Now with those differences become even more conflicts, arise more conflicts. So because they are now divided, and even if it's just a small or a large way with communication, they become divided. So yes, wars are happening, and we're going to talk about that and get into covenants after this. So let's start with 14. At the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Eleazar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim. These kings went to war against Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shember, king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, that is Zor. In the 14th year, so just break there, lots of wars going on in between line 1 and line 5. There's years and years of battling. So in the 14th year, this 14 years later, Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephites in Ashereth Karinam, and the Zuites in Ham, the Emites in Shava Kirethaim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran near the desert. Then they turned back and went to El Mishpah, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazezon Tamar. Excuse with my pronunciation. Sometimes I think I just get it, but I know I'm missing a vowel or two. Anyways, conquering battles, really divided because of their language, which is their large difference. They're really under kind of one belief, but then there's some who have other beliefs, so that's another difference. And then, of course, the biggest reason why they're battling is they're battling for territory and they're battling for land. This is really how our earth becomes so, with borders, right? Because everybody wants their own piece. But yes, let's go ahead and continue. When Abraham heard that his relative had been taken captive, So I think it's supposed to still be Abram. I think I just wrote Abraham. So I'm going to keep it as Abram because we're going to learn about where that shift happened from Abram to Abraham. But let us continue. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born of his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shavah. That is the king's valley. So if you remember where Abram settled, he settled close to Sodom and Gomorrah along with his brother, right? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Anyways, but yes, they settled over there. Somebody in his clan, or Abram didn't have any kids himself, but just his close relatives, or one of them was captured. He went and got them back with the 318 people within his community. Again, not his children. They were just born, it says born of his household, but it's just relatives, really. Slaves, really. Like, I don't know exactly how it is because we learn about it, whatever. We're going to learn. Anyways, he goes and he defeats the king of Chedorlaomer and all the kings allied with him with 318 men. So that is a great feat. Sodom, the king, came out to meet him, and he wanted to give him wealth, and he wanted to give him power, even more than he already had. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, "With raised hand I have sworn an oath to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. To Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them have their share." So we see a little bit of a egotistical mindset when it comes to a lot of these men ruling the clans. It's natural. When you're building communities and you are natural born leaders, there's going to be some ego involved. But more with Abram, it's not so much self, and it's not so much pride in himself. The difference here is pride in being one with God, and pride with having that relationship with God, and really just giving all honor and all merits and all, like, these are my accomplishments only because God is the one helping me and doing them, and it's really God, it's not me. That's what Abram's saying. So that is just something that we personally need to be very, very more focused on, very keen on at this time. We'll go through different accomplishments in different stages, and we always have to remember to have gratitude for how we were able to accomplish those accomplishments, how we were able to get to the next step. It's not you necessarily. Yes, of course, you're the one acting out and being the player in your own life, but it's really God helping you remove those blockages and giving you the capability. So always remember that gratitude, just like Abram had. I was having these thoughts. It's never just you. Anyways, Sodom wanted to give him wealth and like luxury items like clothing, riches, things like that. But he's saying no, like it's not even for me to accept the reward. Like, we will take food and we will take the necessities that we need to just keep our strength up and journey wherever we need to journey, but we're not going to take all of this extra thing because it's not me who deserves the reward. It's really God who deserves the reward. So he's very strict with him, and that is a good mindset to have as a leader. Being humble and of the sort. My words, but you know what I'm trying to say. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward." He also said to him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans, to give you this land to take possession of it." So again, God confirms exactly what Abram had told Sodom king. He's basically like, I am your very great reward. You are right to deny all those riches. You are right to take credit, right? I am your very great reward. You will be rewarded times 1,000 later. And we'll learn more about this in this life and, of course, the next. But then, of course, the Lord right away, he reminds him, like, this is your land to take possession. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. So he's reminding him, he's like, stay steadfast. You will be rewarded, but it's not going to come lightly. It's not going to come easily. It's not going to come easily, and that is much like how we live our lives. We will be rewarded, but it's not going to be just like falling out of the sky and be right there. No, we have to go through trials, we have to go through tribulations in order to really appreciate and get where we want to be. But the reward is so great, and then it also, going through all these trials and tribulations, just builds the self so strongly, builds the character very, very, very well, right? We always heard about like building character and all of that. This is exactly what it is. It's not for punishment. It's not because they deserve to be treated badly or enslaved, but it's just a way to strengthen the mind in the most intense times. That is the lessons of life. So Abram basically sets up a altar, and he's doing a sacrifice with meat. So he is getting all the meat prepared, and he's about to like smoke it, or however they used to do burnt offerings back then. So this is this. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking fire pot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. So he prepared all the meats, and then as a sign from God, all the meats just like lit up with fire around. So that was cool. Seemed to be cool. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert, and it was the spring that beside the road to Shur. So they're frustrated. They're getting a little older, much older, but still like 80s, in their 80s, 90s. So they're getting older, so she's like, we need to continue the line of Abram. We've had no children this entire time that we've been living. So Sarah gives Hagar and Abram permission to mate, to copulate, if you will, and Hagar ends up being pregnant, but I'm sure there was a bit of an age difference and just some jealousy naturally. So Sarah was not treating Hagar very well. So Sarai, so she ran away. Hagar ran away to the spring. And then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. So the angel said, go back. It is your role, it is your duty to go ahead and continue this and go ahead and submit. And again, it's about having the humility and being humble. The pain will lessen. The less you react and you feed the flame, the pain will lessen, and then people will begin to have empathy and really understand what you might be going through. It's just a tip. So the angel's like, go back, submit, you will be rewarded in full for this. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, Abraham, let me just keep using his long name. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram, your name will be Abraham, for I have made you the father of many nations. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for the generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. Abraham fell face down and laughed to himself. Will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? Then God said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And every male in Abraham's household, including those born in his household or bought from a foreigner, was circumcised with him. So we're wondering what this covenant, of course the promise is a long lineage, an everlasting lineage, but what is the promise that Abraham is supposed to keep? It's the promise of circumcision. So that was implemented by God. And again, we don't really know the mystery of it. We don't really know the mystery of why that is the way it is. But when I've talked about circumcision in the past, and when Paul was discussing it much later in the New Testament, it was some kind of form of record keeping, right? For the lineages of Abraham and the household of Abraham to remain intact and to be accounted for, if that makes sense. Even for the Lord. Even the Lord is all-knowing and everything like that, but I think it was it's a symbolic thing. It's a very spiritual thing, and just a way to represent this is the lineage of Abraham. And we talk about standing the test of time. This is something that is very commonplace till this day. People have different opinions on its, I don't want to say morality, but it's, I don't even know. People have opinions. Some say, like, why is this even a thing? But this is why it's a thing, because it is representing the lineage of Abraham. I just remember hearing from media and what have you, like, why is it a thing? And people or men often say, oh, well, when my father did it, so I have to do it. Or, like, it's just like, my father did it, so he made the decision for me. Because often it's, really, really young. In God's law, it was just, at the age before 8. But even with Abraham, the children older than 8, he went ahead and undergoed, I don't even want to call it a sacrament, but it is something kind of sacramental about it. But yeah, just like my father, so now my son as well. So that is just kind of the thing, standing the test of time. Of course, there are others who go a different route, and that is what it is. We don't really want to put so many labels because it is a very much private thing. It's a very sacred thing, and it's not something that we can really pick apart or nitpick or judge others for. It's just a decision that is entirely of their own. So yeah, interesting to talk about. We always kind of like cringed when we were talking about it in the last Bible study. We were like, oh, what is this? Why does Paul keep bringing this up? But it was a big political topic then, not so much anymore. There are other things kind of taking place of that. But again, it's just a way to record keep in a way, and it is a sacred thing. It's just a part of a covenant. Like that, I can't really explain even more than that. But talking about lineages, this lineage really is still on earth. This bloodline is still on earth very heavily, very, very heavily. Goodness gracious. But that's pretty much it, my guys and gals. That's pretty much it. We went really into depth, and again in the last video how we were talking about the truth of this and how this is really an account. It's a testament. It's a way to really gain a perspective, because we often forget, we are such unique spirits and individual souls that we often forget that the bloodline of so many of us really started from just a few people, just like a really small amount of people. So that's why this message of unity and remembering, we are all one, we're one big family, is something to hold close to your heart during these times of separation and division and disagreements. I don't want to say it's a distraction, because it's much bigger than a distraction, but it is a form of strangeness. It's just everything that's going on, the separation, the words, the terrible things. Yes, but we're moving away from that focus. We don't want to focus too much. We don't want to put our hand in something that we really have no part of controlling. You can of course pray and things like that. That would be the most beneficial thing, talking to myself included. But yes, just focus on the big picture and the grand awesomeness of our lives and how we got here and our planet, it's very, very important just to keep that close and remember we all love each other. But war is war. It's happened since almost the beginning of time, right? But we found here this is one of the first forms of great wars between civilizations, really, between nations. So yeah, that's it, you guys. I'm going to get ready for my day, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Still pretty cloudy. I wonder if it's going to rain again today. But yeah, thank you for listening. I will catch up with you tomorrow morning. All right, bye-bye.